Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Arise America. I'm Andrew Schmertz. It took 7 decades for a North Korean leader to make the most historic walk in Korean history. Kim Jong-un crossed the border into South Korea to shake hands with his southern counterpart, President Moon Jae-in. They called it a new era in peace as the nations promised to officially end the 60-year-old war and to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. But while the pictures are dramatic, the details are in short supply. U.S. President Donald Trump spoke about the Korean breakthrough during a visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel. He says he believes Kim is serious about denuclearization, but he is going to be cautious. North Korea is known for making promises it quickly breaks. Is this time different? Joining us from Washington is Dewardric McNeal, who served in the Office of the Department of Defense under President Obama and is currently the Managing Director and Senior Policy Analyst at the Longview Global LLC. And he just got back from China. So let me start by asking, this was somewhat of a surprise. Was there buzz in China that this might happen?
Well, I think the Chinese, like most of the world, is watching this with some degree of curiosity, some degree of concern. The Chinese have a lot of geopolitical, geostrategic, and certainly prestige at stake as they look at how this unfolds. I think they are somewhat concerned that this is happening in their backyard, but they're not the main drivers of the diplomacy here. This is largely a North and South Korean-led initiative, with the U.S. so far coming along for the ride.
And is China concerned that the North Koreans may all of a sudden move towards South Korea a little bit in their relationship and put at risk China's influence in the area?
I think those are some fair thoughts, Andrew. That is one concern. Look, the Chinese have always been skeptical of a reunified peninsula with South Korea being the key remaining influence left. Of course, the North Korea has been a great buffer state for the Chinese. They do not want to see 28,700 troops at the Yalu River. As you know, this is what drew the Chinese into the Korean War in the first place. So they certainly want to take a look at this. They would like to ensure that if there's a rapprochement, if you will, then they're certainly okay with that. But unification, the Chinese have a lot of equities that they want to ensure are on the table if we're talking about unification. But look, I think we're a long ways away from unification. I think we're a long ways away from denuclearization. So I don't think the Chinese have much to worry about at the moment.
You know, what struck many people is that Kim looked very much the statesman. He looked like the adult in the room, which really counteracts the caricature, I think, of how he's perceived by many. In that way, was this a victory for the North Korean leader, just a simple handshake?
I think so far, Andrew, and you said it best. I mean, this was statesmanlike. This was well orchestrated by the North Koreans. I also think it's a lesson, as you put it, in characterizations and the way we stereotype foreign leaders. Look, many of us who have dealt with the North Koreans understand that they're rational actors. They understand this game better than most, and they're prepared to play it. They will meet you where you are. They're prepared to come to the table as statesmen. They certainly know how to play the rhetoric game and ratchet things up if they need to do that. But looking at this today, look, I think it's fair to say that Kim Jong-un really, like his sister did at the Winter Olympics, they really understood the power of optics, and I think it's a win for him in that respect today. I agree with you. And
so the pictures are, very impressive, but the question is, well, let's start with what kind of drove him to walk over the border. Was this a collapse? There's some rumors of a collapse of his nuclear program. Is it the economy? We know the North Korean economy is barely getting by, or was it some sort of actual goodwill on his part?
Yeah, this is a key question that we're all trying to fully analyze, and I suspect, Andrew, the answer is closer to all of the above. But let's just take a look at what we have. I think with Kim Jong-un in his New Year's address, he made it clear that he had achieved his goal with respect to the nuclear program. And that goal was largely to prove that he could hit the United States mainland with a nuclear-tipped ICBM. And so he announced during his New Year's address that had been achieved. And one of the reasons why this is significant is because he believes with that achievement, he now has leverage to come to the table and really talk as equals to the South Korea and particularly to the U.S. I think he's also capitalizing on what is a friendlier government in the South. Moon Jae-in has been serious about peace. He's been serious about talking versus shooting. And Kim Jong-un is aware of this. And so there's a confluence of events that made this the opportune time for him to take that historic step, as we're calling it.
Does President Trump get any credit here for all of his rhetoric and sort of his rambunctious tweets and maybe immature name-calling? He is the guy in office in Washington who was in office when this happened.
Look, I think that's also certainly the president has said this is all about him and what he's done since being in office. And look, I think there's something to that. He's certainly shaken this up a bit in a way that no other president has. He's been prepared to say things and threaten in a way that no other president has. He certainly put in place the maximum pressure campaign, as we were calling the sanctions regime. And there's evidence that started to bite. But look, at the end of the day, sanctions are not the goal. The bloody nose or the military strike is not the goal. Those were tools. The goal is denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Actually, something that we call CVID, or the complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization of North Korea. And until that happens, nothing really has taken place. We're just going through a diplomatic dance.
Well,
Do the president?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm sorry,
no, that's interesting that you point that out, because we need to see what's next, really, to see what the follow-through here. So what do you think is next?
Well, I think that for us, it's about this next meeting that we're going to have between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. And that's where the real rubber meets the road, because that will lay out what we consider to be the true path to peace, the true peace process. There won't be any peace agreements that'll be set in this meeting. This meeting will largely be about the top leaders blessing a process that we hope will get us all to peace. So I think this was a good day for peace in the region, for peace on the peninsula, but there's a lot still left to do. A lot of details are left unstated in the announcement made today. And so let's see what happens when President Trump and Kim Jong-un meet next month or June.
Okay.